A good Saturday turned into a perfect Saturday, and the Sun Devils control their own fate for the rest of the season.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast. I'm your host, Richie Bradshaw. Thanks so much for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. Shout out my everydayers who are here every single day. Free and available on all platforms. Guys, my head's a mess. If you can't tell, by the way, I just fumbled my intro. I am all over the place. It is just after midnight. I am running on about 3, maybe 4 hours of sleep. I had a crazy day. I had a 1-year-old's birthday party where I was absolutely terrorized by toddlers all day. Hilarious. I watched John Jones in a great fight. It was a pretty good card. I watched ASU take down number 16 Kansas State in Manhattan. A game that I said they'd never win, by the way. Up until a few hours before I put together the game day preview for ASU versus K-State. Maybe 3 hours before I recorded, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll take ASU. Otherwise, the whole year, I was like, yeah, you're not winning that game. And then everything became perfect. When BYU, number 6 BYU, undefeated number 6 BYU, number 6 undefeated BYU, the unquestioned top team in the Big 12, they went to bed. They lost, and they didn't just lose to anyone. They lost to Kansas. Now, in fairness, Kansas is the best 3-win, now 4-win football team in the country, and they are playing up to their competition. It's like they remembered, like, hey, we're a good football team. We should start playing like a good football team. And lo and behold, here you are, upsetting BYU in Provo, just like we all predicted. Look, it's one thing if you're going to upset BYU on the road. It's another thing to do it in their backyard at night with a lot on the line. These last 3 weeks were going to be critical for the Big 12 race. And BYU put themselves in a huge jeopardizing spot by losing to Kansas. They still control their fate, but things just got a lot more difficult. And the reason why is your one and only Arizona State Sun Devils control their own fate. Next Saturday, I'm recording this 12:17 in the morning on Sunday. So 6 days from now, that's going to be Saturday the, 23rd? Saturday the 23rd. 1 p.m. kickoff, I think. ASU, who will be ranked, by the way, for the first time this year, and deservedly so. And if they're not ranked, then we just need to riot or something. There's no reason to not rank ASU at this point in time. You are going to have a ranked Arizona State Sun Devils football team hosting a ranked BYU team with 1 loss in the conference. ASU has 2 losses in the conference. The winner of ASU versus BYU, that is probably the one of 2 teams that is going to the Big 12 Conference Championship game. The other, well, right now it feels like Colorado. They only have 1 loss, and they have a cupcake schedule. They could lose. They could lose one of the games. I don't think they win out, but at the same time, I don't know why they wouldn't. To me, it's kind of like skepticism, I suppose. In reality, there's no reason Colorado shouldn't win out, which means that they take 1 spot, which means that this game, ASU versus BYU, this is it. This is the one. Whoever wins this game, I'd say at least a 95% chance that you are going to the Big 12 title game. It would take something monumental to upset it. And honestly, with the way that today went, I don't know that anything will matter at this point. Maybe there's a way Iowa State can save their season, but I mean, West Virginia went down today. They're done. Kansas State went down today. They're done. The playing field got a lot smaller for making it to the conference title game. It's a race between ASU, BYU, and Iowa State only has the 2 losses. I don't know if they are going to have a tiebreaker over BYU or ASU. This is a crazy situation that we have stumbled ourselves into. And yet, here we are. Arizona State Sun Devils football. The same Arizona State Sun Devils football that, by the way, was picked to finish not in the bottom half. Nope. Not bottom 5. Nope. Not bottom 3. Not bottom 2. The worst. ASU is predicted to finish the worst team in the Big 12. 16 out of 16 by the media poll. They could finish first. That would be what would be a crazier story in college football than that? Florida State, a top 10 team, only winning 1 game. That's probably the only one. Indiana's had a magical season. They're phenomenal. They're a great team. I don't think they were picked to finish last in the Big Ten. This is insane. And this is why college is so great, ladies and gentlemen. If you believe that any sport is better than college football, then I encourage you to watch the start of this season for all of college football. Just start over at week 0 and follow to the conclusion of the regular season. You will have your mind changed. This has been a hectic season and a perfect year for a 12-team playoff format because, man, there's a lot of teams that are going to find their way in, and who knows how it's going to shake out. We could see 5 SEC teams. We could see any Group 5 team. Boise State more than likely, but I mean, Tulane's not far behind. Army's got a chance to really prove themselves coming up here. We don't know what's going on with G5. We don't know what's going on with any of the conferences, honestly. Who knows who wins the SEC? Who knows who wins the ACC? We have an idea of who's going to win the Big Ten. It's pretty much between Oregon and Ohio State. But if Indiana upsets Ohio State this weekend, who knows what happens? And who knows what happens in the Big 12? It is chaos. And it's perfect. And you wouldn't want it any other way. But this is a perfect Saturday for the Sun Devils. There's no other way to describe it. This was a perfect Saturday. You getting a win in Manhattan. A place that I described, and I stand firm on this, is one of the most underrated home field advantages in college football, especially when K-State is good. And K-State is good this year. ASU rocked them in the first half. It wasn't a game. They were knocking them around. 21-0 at halftime. Sam Leavitt, 3rd straight week with 3 touchdown passes. 3rd straight week with 0 interceptions. 3rd straight week completing over 60% of his passes. You can't ask for anything more out of Leavitt than what he is doing for you right now. He is playing at an elite level. Unless there is someone I am forgetting. I think the only quarterback in the Big 12 who's playing better than Leavitt right now within the last month, it's Shedeur Sanders. That I don't know who else in the Big 12 over the last month, not the season, just the last month, because I know Leavitt's numbers aren't going to stack up with some other guys. In the last month, who is playing better football than Sam Leavitt? And quite frankly, I would love to stack up Leavitt's numbers to Shedeur's numbers. Just for fun. Maybe I'll do that by myself and just put it on Twitter or something. But he's playing lights out football. Cam Scadaboo comes back. I told you guys I wasn't expecting him to blow up the box score. I was expecting them to lean heavily on him. That's exactly what they did. 25 carries, 73 yards. Didn't get in the end zone. Did not predict that. What I did predict was Jordan Tyson was going to stay hot. And wow, 12 catches, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns. Insanity. ASU gets 2 interceptions, one by Xavion Valladay, friend of the podcast, or Valladay, Xavion Alford, friend of the podcast. Sorry, I was talking with my buddies today about Sean Aguano and all the running backs that he's had. So that was on my mind. Xavion Valladay, friend of the podcast, had an interception. Shamari Simmons had the game-ending interception, and I think Avery Johnson thought he was wearing purple or something because it looked like he just lollipopped it. He was like, "Here, Shamari, I don't want to play anymore. This is yours." Craziest thing. And we'll talk more in detail about this game tomorrow. That was always the plan. This is a unscripted reaction episode. And I'd say we have a good start to it. But we still got a lot more to talk about. And that's coming up next. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let me tell you about 5 Hour Energy. Our friends over at 5 Hour Energy know that being a passionate football fan isn't a hobby, it's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, or agonizing second overtime games. I'll tell you, I could have used a 5 Hour Energy shot today with everything that was going on. And that's why they have created the Stan the Fan 5 Hour Energy shot with special flavors called Fan Fuel. The energy shot made just for super fans like me and you. The fans who are first in the parking lot. The fans that are the last to leave. We see you. You know what else gave me a bit of Arizona State Sun Devils fan fuel this weekend? It's got to be those passes that Levitt is tossing up to Jordan Tyson. They're dots. They're beautiful. It gets me energized when I see that Sam Levitt, QB1, is throwing to Jordan Tyson, wide receiver 1. The Levitt to Tyson connection, it's crazy, and it gets me energized just like 5 Hour Energy does. 5 Hour Energy knows no matter who you're rooting for, being a fan, it requires heart, it requires soul, a whole lot of energy, whether you're prepping for a big tailgate, or you're ironing your jersey, or your game day to-do list is a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stan the Fan 5 Hour Energy shot is here. It's to keep you fueled throughout the season. What's your fan fuel of the week? Whatever it is, do it with 5 Hour Energy. Available on 5hourenergy.com, shipped nationwide. Let me also tell you about our friends over at Game Time. Game Time, look, if you're trying to get tickets for the cheapest prices, you need to check out Game Time and their new process, Game Time Picks. And it's going to make getting tickets for your favorite teams easier than it was before, because they're gonna filter out the fluff. You are only going to see incredible deals on great seats. You're not going to have to search through thousands of different tickets. The curation process, it's perfect. Save more on sports, but not just sports, concerts, comedy, theater events, and more. You can toggle their all-in pricing feature. It's going to show you the total up front. There are no surprise fees at checkout. Get a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy. You'll know what to expect when you arrive. Best part about Game Time, of course, is their lowest price guarantee. Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference if you find tickets in the same section and row for less. And obviously, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets, any kind of tickets, with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Wherever you get your podcast, like, subscribe, turn on notifications. You will get an update whenever we post new content. Let's jump right back into this thing, because there's a lot more to talk about here. There was a lot that went down for the Sun Devils. Yes, yesterday, I guess it's fair to say yesterday, even though this was only a couple hours ago that everything is unfolded. This was an insanity. The perfect weekend. We talked about ASU going to Manhattan and winning. And we're going to talk about that more in detail tomorrow too. So now's never been a better time to subscribe. Turn on those notifications too. So we got game balls, baby. We got game balls to hand out. And I have no idea who I'm handing them out to. I might have to dig into my stash and get more than 4 game balls. I don't know what we're going to do. What I do know is you're going to take tomorrow and maybe Monday. I would say just tomorrow. Well, today, recording in the middle of the night. Take Sunday off. Celebrate. Have a good time. As long as you're 21, pop some bubbly. My Sun Devil players, if you're not 21, get some apple cider. Have a good time and celebrate the fact that you are 8-2. You are going to be ranked in the AP and the coaches poll. Come Tuesday night, get a watch party going. I am probably going to have my own watch party. Details to come on that. I'll let you know when I figure it out. You're probably going to find yourself in the college football playoff poll. You are in control of your own destiny to beat BYU, to go to the Big 12 championship game. And who knows what happens after that? You couldn't have dreamt up a better weekend. Going into this week, I talked a lot about Colorado losing. You know who I didn't talk about losing was BYU. The reason why? I don't know. It's pretty lame when you consider that they're facing a very similar situation to Colorado. BYU does not have the craziest schedule to end the year. They're hosting Kansas and they host Houston for the last game of the year and they visit Arizona State. In my head, and shame on me, in my head, I said Kansas is a win, Houston's a win. Let's see about Arizona State. That would have meant it was only a 1-loss season for BYU in Big 12 play, which means ASU, who has 2 losses, was not going to pass BYU. So I'm looking at Colorado, and I'm like, oh, I need Colorado to lose because then they also have 2 losses, and ASU can win tiebreakers and blah, blah, blah. Well, no, this is so much easier. This is a clean, straightforward path. You beat BYU, you have the tiebreaker, 95% chance that you're going to the Big 12 championship game. All you have to do after that is beat U of A, and yeah, it's in Tucson, and yeah, it's a rivalry game. I'm feeling better and better and better and better about that game with every week that passes. ASU might win out. They might finish the year 10-2. They might take down the almighty BYU and take a top 2 spot in the Big 12 to end the year and then have a chance to win it. You're picked to finish 16th. You might finish first. And we all know what happens if you finish first in the new 12-team playoff layout for college football. 12 teams make it. The Power 4 conferences, their champions have a playoff bid. The best of the G5 champions has a bid. That's 5 bids. 7 more are wide open. SEC is going to dominate them. You would assume that whoever is not winning the Big 12 or Big 10 between Ohio State and Oregon is going to have one of those bids. It's going to be a tight race. The ACC, who knows what's going to happen there? Clemson's making a push. SMU is really good. Miami's still there. There's a lot of chaos going on. You probably need to win the Big 12 if you are going to go to the playoff. Because I don't know that a 10-3 Arizona State team is going to be viewed the same way as a 9-3 SEC team. If that's Tennessee, if that's Ole Miss, whoever it might be, I don't know that the committee is going to value you the same way that they are going to value one of those teams. If it were up to the committee, who would you rather have? Colorado and Arizona State, or one of those Big 12 teams and Miami and Clemson? They're going to choose the latter two. It's bigger programs. It's better ratings for them. You probably have to win the Big 12 championship to get to the playoff. If you don't, Well, I mean, you're a 10-3 football team. I don't know how New Year's Six is going to work out this year because of the playoff. If it's still the same that it is, you're in for a New Year's Six bowl. At worst, you're in for the best bowl game that's not part of the college football playoff. This is it. This is exactly where you want to be. This could not have gone better for ASU. Literally a perfect scenario. One that I didn't even think of. And shame on me because I was so hyper-focused on Colorado that I didn't even think about the fact that it is a much easier path, 10 times easier, to get to the championship game with BYU losing one game and then beating BYU in Tempe. Because you do that, you're in. As long as you don't screw up in Tucson. And even without this pressure to go to the Big 12 championship game, you were always going to play that game at your highest level. You have even that much more to play for potentially. This is huge, ladies and gentlemen. You had 3 wins in each of the last 2 seasons. The 2021 season, you were 8-5. It's the best season ASU has had since the Todd Graham era, since back-to-back 10-win seasons, an appearance in the Pac-12 title game. This is a magical year. You were supposed to be in a crapper. This was supposed to be an ASU team that was firmly stunk in a rebuild for 3 or more years. Kenny Dillingham in his post-game press conference today, definitely check that out. All sorts of great sound bits and conversations that were had. But he said himself, he was like, look, you get hired to a program that's in the middle of sanctions and stuff like that, more than likely you're not making it. You're kind of that guy to help get things back on track, but you're not expected to do enough to save your job. Year 2 of Kenny Dillingham, oh my God, they've already won 8 games. You have won more games this season than the last 2 years combined. You are 1 win away from having the most wins in several years. You are 2 wins away from going to a conference title game, which you have not done in over 10 years. And you are a title game away from making your first ever appearance in the college football playoff to make up for your loss in 2014 when you should have gone to the college football playoff. This is a magical year for ASU. No one saw this coming. No one. Even the delusional fans, which I've given you the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, you could be crazy and I would still respect. No. Even the craziest ASU fans, you can't look me in the eye and tell me you saw this coming. You are lying through your teeth. And I respect it, but I don't believe you. No one saw this coming. Kenny Dillingham didn't see this coming. Graham Rossini didn't see this coming. No one. And the ride's not over because you are in control of your own destiny. No one else. It's up to you. You beat BYU, pretty good shot. You beat Arizona, you're in. You then are taking on Colorado, or maybe it's a rematch with BYU, depending on how tiebreakers work there. Then you are a game away from the playoff. And with it being a 12-team playoff, you can't rule out a good matchup to start. You're also potentially getting a bye. There's a lot to talk about. And not nearly enough time. This was supposed to be like a 15-minute podcast. But then BYU decided to lose to Kansas. And we ended up having an almost full-length show. But this is where I got to cut it, guys, because there's way too much to talk about right now. And this upcoming week, it's going to be crazy. We got a lot to talk about the next 2 days for recapping this game. We got a huge conversation coming up on Wednesday about the future. Thursday is going to be crossover Thursday with Locked On BYU's own Jake Hatch. Let's see how that goes. Friday, Saturdays, our usual stuff. I still have to talk about basketball at some point because ASU basketball is 3-1. They play later today. They could be off to a 4-1 start. There's so much to talk about right now. And I don't know when we're going to have a break on this show right now. So like, subscribe, turn on notifications. You'll get an update whenever we post new content, which right now, I don't know when we're going to have a break. I don't care. We are having a good freaking time here in the Valley, which is activated. And if it's not, then I don't know what it's going to take. Kenny Dillingham said that himself. I want to keep going, but we got to cut it. I will see you guys soon. I don't know. Maybe I'll see you later today, depending on what happens with ASU basketball. But I will see you no later than tomorrow. Until then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.